Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everybody. This is Sunshine Lady Q, your girl, your friend, your hugger, spiritually and naturally, where you can expect to feel not just a warm embrace, but a safe embrace. We're going to journey this thing together on Heavenly Hugs Radio Moment, naturally and spiritually. You can expect to be empowered. You can expect to be encouraged. You can expect to be lifted up. You can expect to be pushed to where you belong. We're going to journey this life together. We're going to heal heart, mind, through a spiritual hug through the radio waves. Hello and welcome to Heavenly Hugs. Heavenly Hugs, healing under God's shadow. This is your girl, Sunshine Lady Q of Heavenly Hugs, healing under God's shadow. Psalms 91. It is a place where you can expect to feel not just a warm embrace, but a safe embrace. Guess what? It is Father's Day month. Woo! And I have this young man, I'm not going to say he's old, but this young man as my first guest on Heavenly Hugs as a male. Other than my pastor, well, outside of my pastor, he is the first male that has come on Heavenly Hugs radio broadcast. So that's because I've been asking about it for a while, and they was like, no, only women, only women. So when things shifted, I was like, yes. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I have I call him Jason Keith. So we have Mr. Jason Keith on here with us, and we're gonna talk about fathers. Mr. Keith, if you would tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and what you want the people to know, what you do before we dive in.
Yes, my name is Jason Keith Harris. I'm an educator first. I love educating our youth. It's always been a passion of mine. I am a father. I am a husband. I am a man of God. I also is very involved in sports for our youth. So I not only I tell people I don't really coach, I teach. Even in sports, I feel like our young men and women we lack the love that comes with coaching. So I teach. So I teach with love.
That's good. That's good. And he is a father of one biological child, but he is a father to many.
To many, yes.
He is a father to, which is probably why he got the gray beard and the gray hair.
Yeah, I'm gonna say wisdom. I'm gonna keep saying wisdom. I'm not gonna say stress. I'm gonna say wisdom.
Oh goodness. Well, again, like I said, we are talking about fathers before we get started. Jason, if you would, please grace us with just a short prayer before we get started. We'll dive on in.
Lord, we thank you for this day, Father. We thank you for this opportunity, God. On this coming up Father's Day, Father, let this broadcast touch many fathers and many children, Father. Let it be a blessing to someone, Father, out there. Lord, as we go through this program, Father, bless it and let it manifest and grow into what you and your will have. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. Amen. And you know what? I'm gonna throw this out here. You can just grab it how you want to grab it. But you know what I think will be really good? I think what will be really good is you, Kurt, because y'all best buddies, and whoever else for y'all to get a podcast and to join our network. I just put it out there.
That's something I'm actually trying to I've got some things in the work I'm asking God to do for me, might be trying to get a little LLC going, why not? I think it's very important that we involved. Well, my mission would be this. I'll tell you like this. My mission would be to incorporate men back, not only back in our homes, but in our communities, in our churches. We're needed. We are so needed. And I think that with that comes a lot of situations that we face or we see our kids face in the community, that wouldn't happen because they have a leader. They have somebody that's positive that they can go to and get advice from and be led in the right direction. So that's something I'm working on right now.
Okay. Well, I'll just throw in the
Hint,
part about
hint.
the podcast, just throw it in there. We have a wonderful network of people. Me personally, I don't have the equipment. Some people have the equipment and different things of that. If you do, go for it. But some of us, like myself, we don't have it, but God has blessed that they say that mine sound really good. And I just thank the Lord for the acoustics in my house because I promise you, all I have is a headphone mic. That's it. I don't have nothing else. But
And
anyway,
sometimes little as much.
yes, exactly, exactly. So, okay, so Jason, how old were you when you first became a father?
I was January. I was 27.
And that was in what year? 2000 or what?
That was in 2009. Matter of fact.
Yep, because I remember the phone call.
Yep, 2009.
I remember the phone call. He's like, "Juanita, she's pregnant."
Yep.
I remember the phone call, and I was like, "I told you she was gonna get pregnant." So, but that was something that I know that you have yearned for and wanted for years, and I know it was definitely a blessing for you because of the situation where and that's one thing when a man wants a child and the person that he marries doesn't want a child, it brings about imbalancing the home. So, if you don't mind, just sharing just a little bit about that.
Um. Well, the it was not a planned or a decision making opportunity, but it happened, and it
Mhm,
when it did happen, of course, at that point, there's not really too much you can do about it, but embrace it
mhm.
and take it for what it is. For me, of course, it was a blessing.
Yep.
And it's still a 13-year long blessing and and still going.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, mindsets have to change. Of course, your your outlook on life changes because it's no longer about you,
Mhm.
and you got to understand that every decision that you make it affects the people around you. So,
That's right. That's right. So, how has life changed when you became a father?
well, life changed because now again, it's no longer about me.
Uh huh.
Uh, so now you have to many people say they sacrifice the things that they want to do or
Hmm.
their lifestyle or whatever the case may be.
Hmm.
I say you don't have. It's not a sacrifice. It's more of a growth process.
Uh huh.
And I say that because now, again, every decision that you make
Hmm.
is not about you anymore. It's about
Exactly.
this
Exactly.
little one. And I often tell other men, I said, becoming a father was the best thing ever happened to me because it
Hmm.
saved my life. Um, During those times when you are unsure about life or you're going through different changes in life,
Hmm.
having a child puts more perspective on your goals.
Hmm.
You can no longer waste time anymore. It's like, all right, I got to do what I got to do
Hmm.
because guess what? It's just not me anymore.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
you got when you're looking at that person and you're thinking as a man for me that this little person is is me like
Hmm.
that's my blood that's going through his veins. It's
Hmm.
it's life that was created partly by me, and this is me.
Exactly.
So what
Exactly.
am I going to do now?
Hmm.
So it's motivation.
All right. Well, let me ask you a question. So I will ask you, how was life growing up? Was your dad in your life?
I knew my dad. He he was there
Hmm.
um to a certain extent,
Hmm.
but my dad lives in Philadelphia. Of course, I'm originally from Philadelphia, so
Hmm.
he still lives there.
Hmm.
But around the age of 12 or 13, we just never saw eye to eye on a lot of things, and
Hmm.
it is more or less not a bad thing, but being a young man that's growing up and needing his father because the distance was just not there. I mean, it was there, so he wasn't able to be there every day. But I love my dad to death. He's my father. I mean, it is what it is, and we still talk, but it's just it's a mutual respect. Now that we're both adults, and
yes.
But yeah, he was there. I mean, and the time that we spent together was good. We traveled a lot. He taught me a lot about different places, and that's why that's why I like to travel a little bit now because that's what he did. He showed us that there's more to life than just the place you live. So
okay, that's good. So if there was something that you could have changed about the relationship with you and your dad, or if you could have had your dad here at all times, do you think you would have been different as a man and as a father if he was always there?
um,
Because
to be honest,
a person can be there and still
yeah,
not be there.
right. I think I wouldn't, if I had to change anything, I would change the fact that maybe I would have been more understanding of his position as a father and as in his situation where, his life was actually somewhere else and he just could not pick up and move because of, now that I'm older, I can understand more, relocating with jobs and things of that nature. It just and him being able to take care of my grandmother at the time too. So it's just a lot of responsibilities that he had that I just didn't understand, but now I do as an adult.
And I'm glad that you said it because Mother's Day, we did Mother's Day month last month, and one of the young ladies said that the relationship with her mom, it was so challenging because there were some things that she did not know about her mom until she got older. There was conversation that her mom had, and she was like, "Oh, my mom is a human. She's not just
Right,
mom, but she's human." And you have to look because she was not only human, but she was a single mother. You know,
right.
so yeah,
That plays a part. That plays a part, man. And
it
as a
does.
child, we don't fully understand those things. Again, as a child, you think as a child, but as an adult, you understand as an adult.
Exactly, exactly. What do you enjoy most about being a father?
Man, I love everything about being a father. The ups, the downs, the teachings, the the hard conversations, the discipline,
Hmm.
the investments that you put or that I put into my son is priceless. It's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
when you've lived a life and you've made so many mistakes and you learn from those mistakes and those are the things that you instill in your own son that hey, there's a better way to do things. And then you
Yeah,
think about it like you're going to raise them to be just like you. So it's amazing. Now they may stray every now and
of
then, but the
course.
thing about it is, of course, what you put in them is
Hmm.
going to be there. So
Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to say something that Jason Keys did not say. One of the things that he wanted was custody of his son. And
yep.
I remember the conversation we've had, and I remember just saying, Lord, just allow him, to be able to have full custody of his son because there's nothing like a present father, not just a father
Right.
that's in a house, but a father who's present and makes himself known. Because a father is not just someone because you don't have to biologically be a father.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's when we talked about earlier, where you are a father of many that are not your biological children. But I think there's a big difference when you have a present father that
Yeah.
teaches
Oh
his
yeah.
sons how to be fathers, how to be men. So can you say, because I'm sure Zay sees, and just by looking at you, I know that Zay sees how to treat a woman. Zay
Oh yeah.
sees how to be a provider, how to be a
Mhm.
protector.
Yeah, he even it took to build upon the comment. Yeah, it took 12 years. It took me 12 years, but I never gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a firm believer in, you take care of your responsibilities, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing about it is he's not really he's not a I don't look at him as a responsibility. I look at him as it's my son. That's
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gonna need me
Mm-hmm.
throughout life. And there's no knock to any mothers or his mother. Granted, I was raised by a single mama. So the thing about it is, at the same time, you can raise a man, but you can't teach him how to be a man. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if I had a daughter, I'd say the same thing. I can raise a daughter, but I can't teach her how to be a woman. That's not,
Exactly.
just can't
Exactly.
do it.
Exactly.
But
And so I will ask you this. Do you think today's fathers have it harder or easier than back in the day?
I would say they have it harder. But the reason I say they have it harder is because the lack of effort that some men put into being a father or being there. You got to understand, back in the day, you know, it, it was, well, I tell you this, you look at it twofold.
Uh-huh.
Men back in the
You
day,
are.
men back in the day,
Uh-huh.
were raised to work,
Mm-hmm.
provide,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times that's all they did until they died.
Mm-hmm.
But doing that were not present in the child's life most of the time because they were tired. Most of the time
Yeah.
they didn't spend time with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today's fathers, uh, it's a total change. It's like, yeah, I got a kid, but I see him every now and then. I got to do this and I got to do that to a certain
Okay.
extent.
So before you even go any further in it, I'm just going to stop you just for a little bit because I have a son
Mm-hmm,
and he has two daughters. He
mm-hmm,
has two baby mamas. Uh,
mm-hmm.
a lot of times it's not always the man
Yeah.
because sometimes women put men in predicaments and situations where they're like, you know what, forget it. You know what, I'm just doing because I done tried all I want to try, but this chick over
Yep.
here just acts stupid all the time.
And I was gonna get into that too, because that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, you know, in that back in the day, women uh would really uplift the
Yeah.
household,
Yes.
and they made that man feel like he was Superman,
Mm-hmm. Even
and
if they
to a
weren't
certain extent he
married.
was.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Even
Yeah,
if they weren't married.
get right, right, because they knew that man was important, and they knew that was a source that not only did they need, but it would have been it'd have been an emptiness if that person was not there.
Mm-hmm.
Men were so important. Now, like you said, to build upon this, I see a lot of women today, they get mad, they use the child for ransom, or pin them against each other, against the
Mm-hmm.
fathers, and then it makes it really hard for a father to be a father, even if he wants to be there. I know, because I done been there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it also takes a man just not taking no, or taking
That's
an
it.
attitude, or taking the disrespect.
Mm-hmm.
Men got to understand that they have options, they
Yes.
have rights,
Yes.
and they need to utilize those rights, even if it means getting a lawyer to fight your battles and speak your words, because
Exactly.
again, trust me, I've been there 12 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
12 years.
Yeah.
So you have a voice.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And my heart goes out to fathers who want to be involved in their children's lives.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
I personally say that I'm sorry. I apologize for how that woman or those women treated you or talked down on you or won't allow you to see your child. For I, Heavenly Hugs, Quaditra Backus, Sunshine Lady Q, I'm sorry. Because I'm sure a lot of you all did not deserve to be treated the way you've been treated. I'm sure a lot of you all did not deserve to be dogged out because you are a man, and men are entitled to mistakes just like women are. And again,
Right.
from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry. And just like Jason said, know that you have a voice and don't stop. It
Don't
took
never
you
give
12
up.
years. It might take you 15, but don't stop. Don't stop. Even if you got the sin, if your mama have a relationship with the baby, or you know somebody who has a relationship with your child, still send money, still send gifts, still make yourself known. If you got to put yourself up for child support, do whatever you got to do to say to your child or let your child know, I'm here and I'm trying. Because I can
That's what I did.
assure you, when that child get older,
They'll
you
know.
and one thing about it is, don't talk bad about their father around their child.
Right.
Do not, mothers, if you hear me, don't talk bad about the baby daddy.
I'm telling you this. The
Because
truth will come out sooner or later.
exactly, because if the daddy is a deadbeat, if the daddy don't mean the baby no good, guess what? That child will see it.
Oh yeah, most
That
definitely.
child will see it. Devontae dad just lied and just flat out was like, I didn't want him in his life, yada yada yada, the whole 9 yards. Boy, bye. I'm high school, just had a baby, and you talking about what? Boy, bye. No, I wish they was able to get him, because he didn't know who his family was on his daddy's side until he was 16.
Yeah, that's right.
But he realized for himself, even as an adult, he still see like, Mom, man, my daddy still ain't got it right. But I applaud my son, because guess what? He's still there for his daddy. With all his foolishness, with all his lies, and everything else, he's still there for his daddy. And where the
Yeah.
roles have actually reversed, where he have to take the lead sometime and like talk to his daddy like he the daddy. And his daddy was
Yeah.
what you gotta say? Talk to me.
I get it. I do. I'm telling you, I get it. Cause, you know, there was a time where in my life I was getting it together.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wasn't always, like I said, you make mistakes and you learn from them.
Exactly.
And with me growing up, I had to learn a lot of things on my own.
Mm-hmm.
As far as, how to be a man and what to do in certain situations. Now,
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, now, granted, I was blessed to be around uh, a lot of older men that
Mm-hmm.
were
Mm-hmm.
way much older than me. That could be, my father, my granddad's age, and and uh, credit to my own grandfather, my own
Yeah.
granddad that raised me as long as he could. But I learned to just be quiet and listen.
Mm-hmm.
And when I became an adult, my father would be like, "Well, son, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, Dad, I thought that was the right thing to do." And he would say his words, and I was like, "Well, guess what, Dad? If you were here more, I would have known that."
Mm-hmm.
So, and we would have our little spats, but nothing disrespectful to him. But I'd
Of
be like,
course.
I needed you here. And then it got to a certain point where, I got I was getting married, and I called him to tell him I was getting married, just to see if he would come. And he was like, I remember he picked up the phone and was like, "What you need?"
Oh.
Looked at the phone like,
Wow.
"Excuse me?" He said, "What you need?" I said, "Man, I don't need nothing." I said, "I just called to tell you some good news." I said, "Matter of fact," I said, "I'm doing very well." I said, "I'm to the point right now. What you need?" So it taught me to be tougher. It taught me to really think logically, and I
Mm-hmm.
always think about my options and think about things before I do them.
Mm-hmm.
When you have to learn life on your own as a man,
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna make mistakes.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
if God sends you somebody older that's wise
Mm-hmm.
and man, listen to them as much as you can, soak up as much as you can,
Mm-hmm.
because now, I'm in a spot where, you know, my dad, he'll call and he'll, ask me some stuff, and I'm like, here we go. The roles have reversed.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm able to give him, uh, the wisdom that I have.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's the student became the teacher now. So
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I will say, you mentioned about if your dad taught you nothing else, he taught you that there's more to life than just being at home.
right.
So it's to travel. So what
Hmm.
traditions have you grown up with that you learned from either your dad or your granddad or mentor that you want to Zay to pick up on those traditions? And what traditions are you teaching Zay?
Well, first thing is this came. A lot of these teachers came from my granddaddy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Charlie Junior Owens was his name, but and this was actually my mother's father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember being about 9 or 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
and watching cartoons on a Saturday morning. I'll never forget it.
Oh, those were
And
the best days back
uh,
then, man.
yeah, my granddaddy called out from the window um, and told me to come here. I didn't know what he said. Put your shoes on, come here, boy. So I went outside, and him and my brother were cutting grass at the
Oh,
time. So I didn't think nothing of it. And he told me to grab the lawnmower. He said, push it down there. Keep it in a straight line, pull it back. I said, okay. He said, it's your job now to cut the yard every Saturday.
wow.
I was like, what? But he taught me that it's no longer time. It's time out there for childish things. It's time to grow up and be a man.
Mm-hmm.
He instilled in me to work. That spirit of you got to make it happen. You got to do what you got to do as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Working is one of the things I know how to do best. I promise you. I can tell anybody for about 13 years, I worked like 3 jobs.
Yes, you did. I was just about to say
Yep. So, it, it,
that.
many people are like, well, why you did that? I said, well, the thing about it is you got to do what you got to do as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And if something needs to be paid, something needs to be purchased, or things happen, guess
Mm-hmm.
what? If you don't have the income coming in at that moment with the income that you got, guess what you got to do? You got to go out and get another job.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you got to do what you got to do. So that's one thing I can say that uh, that was very, very much instilled in me. That the value of respect,
Mm-hmm.
not only for myself but for others, no
Mm-hmm.
matter what. Always treat people with respect. Always treat people and do right by them.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
got to do right by them, and
Exactly.
just to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to teach. I teach Jay that same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
he understands it.
Mm-hmm.
He's just like me. He's loving, he's caring,
Mm-hmm.
and he, you know, that work ethic that I have, he sees, and he's
Yeah.
like, well, my daddy, oh, you got to go to work, daddy? Yep, got to go to work, son. He said, well, have a good day at work. I see you when you get home. Hey, yeah, I said, you'll be doing it soon too, son.
So, being that during that time when you was working at 2 or 3 jobs, and even now, do y'all have certain days that you carve out just to spend time with him?
uh, I used to have to do that
Mm-hmm.
because because of the situation. Well, he wasn't always with me. So
Mm-hmm.
this is like the first full year I've had Isaiah with me.
Okay.
So when that happened,
Mm-hmm.
I really didn't have to make provisions. I just reprioritized
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my time.
Yeah.
Um, uh, you know, he gets to go to school with me every day because we go to the same school. So
Uh-huh.
he gets to go to school with me.
I think that is
He
awesome for
is,
him.
now that I coach too, he goes with me to practice, which is good for him because he gets to hang out with the guys. He gets to see what I do
Mm-hmm.
and how my time is spent. And he
Mm-hmm.
sees that, you know, what I'm teaching him, I also teach other guys. So it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
my daddy, oh, this is, so I'm not the only one. Right. You're not the only one, son. And he, of course, on the weekends, when on the weekends that I have him, of course I have him every day, but the weekends that he's not with his mother,
Mm-hmm.
we try to find something to do, whether it be sitting down and go and eat,
Mm-hmm.
movies. He likes Top Golf. He loves Top Golf.
Really?
Dave and Buster's, movies, stuff like that. So
Okay.
now that he's getting into football, so he wants to lift weights now. So we do that too. We
Wow.
and I'm be honest, like I the matter of fact, it was Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, we were lifting weights. No, Saturday, it was just Friday. Excuse me, it was Friday. We were lifting weights, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "That's me." Like he, I mean, he didn't complain. He didn't. He was
Mm-hmm.
like, and I knew it was tough.
Yeah.
And I said, and I'm looking at, I was tearing up because I was like, "Son, I'm proud of you. Like, just understand, like, you know, you're gonna be just like me." He's like, "I know, Dad." That's a great moment, man. Like, those are the moments you cherish.
Exactly. 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 So I will ask you, and I think we pretty much covered this as far as what was the one hardest moment you had as being a father and why it was hard. I think we already discussed that, and that was pretty much you're not being there every day and he not being with
Yeah,
you and going through that process of 12 years until you actually got him.
right. That was very difficult, and uh, just knowing as a father,
Mm-hmm.
uh, if things were happening with his mom, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as a man, you're there to protect your child.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't protect your child, that's like the worst feeling in the world. Like that's what I'm supposed to do, but I can't. But
Yeah,
because if I do, then,
it's a
you
problem.
know, there's a problem, and then I won't be able to. I tell
Mm-hmm.
folks, listen, I can't raise them behind a glass. I can't raise them behind a glass. So you got to
Mm-hmm.
use wisdom, and you got to pray a lot
Yeah,
and be patient. And
yeah.
once I learned that, and God really changed me, really, really changed me a lot, and
Uh-huh.
He gave me peace with that, and I knew it was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I applaud you. I applaud you. I
I
really do.
appreciate it.
I applaud you. I talked to this young man through my job, and when he called for the babies for week or whatever. And I remember talking to him last year, I think last year where I was on site. I remember talking to him last year and he was talking about how he had to end up getting custody of his daughters. And then I ended up talking to him again. It was like a year ago, so it was time. I talked to him. Just so happened, I ended up talking to him again, where he was calling to do recertification. So I applaud any man that take a stand when it comes to being in their child's life, their children's life, because even a daughter needs her dad in her life.
Oh yeah,
Even a daughter is not just about a young man having his dad, but even daughters need to have their dad in their life.
because daughters need to understand. Daughters need to know that that love from a father. I post pictures and stuff and little videos on Facebook all the time about, you
Mhm.
know, uh, daughters and how they react to the daddies, you know. And it's so cute because the presence of a daddy to a little girl is protection. It's like, that's my daddy.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's wonderful. So, you know, and as they grow up, having that presence there
Mhm.
and how they see their daddy, it puts an expectation on the men that they actually or or any man that takes interest in them. Because most of the time, like if you can't do this like my daddy, if you can't provide for me like my daddy, and people look at that as saying, well, that's not realistic. I said it is
It
realistic.
is realistic.
It's so realistic because the thing about it is that father has set so much of an expectation
He set
that
the bar
as the
high.
father, yeah, oh yeah, it's very high. And it's like, when that young man says, that he wants to marry my daughter, I'm gonna be like, well, son, you already know what you got to stand against. I hope you're ready. And then, of course, nobody's gonna be good enough for your little girl, but at the same time, realistically, in reality speaking, there is gonna be somebody.
Yeah.
And that's gonna be a good thing because now you know that your daughter's gonna be protected. She's gonna be provided for. She's gonna be loved and loved correctly.
And she won't have daddy issues.
And she won't have daddy issues.
And she won't have daddy issues. And that's where a lot of young ladies go for older men sometimes because they have daddy issues. They don't know what it feels like to be taken care of. So they'll get in these abusive relationships or whatever the case may be because they feel like, okay, well, he loves me. Even though he beat me up, but he loves me. Because of course she don't know how she's supposed to be loved because her daddy wasn't there.
Right. So
So
true.
yeah, so I even look at my daughter, 19, she's 19 years old now. Woo! Lord Jesus. My baby's 19, and I remember my mama telling me, she said, Tavia, she said, God has conditioned Taylor that her father would never be in her life. And I remember my mama saying that when Taylor was a little girl. She was like, God has conditioned Taylor that her dad would never be in her life. Not that she wouldn't have issues, not that she wouldn't have questions. But because I can remember as if it was yesterday. We was at Walmart when she was much younger. We was at Walmart. It was around Christmas holidays, and she saw her dad at the store. And she was like, "My dad," and I was like, "Okay." So she ran up to go speak to him, and he was like, he pretty much told her, "I ain't got time to talk to you. I'm in a rush." So she was like, "Okay." So when she got in the car, she was like, "Mom, let me call my daddy Bug because he want to act like he ain't my daddy. I got my daddy Bug." So she even now when she gets to a point where she'll call her daddy Bug or whatever. But again, I'm grateful for what God has instilled in her as far as protecting her heart. Of course, her dad came into her life when she right before 7 days before she turned 18. 7 days before she turned 18. Ain't nothing changed about him. He came in with the lies and the whole 9 yards, and I had to step in as a mother. Because what you're not gonna do is upset my baby. I don't care how old she is.
That's true.
That's what we're not gonna do. And she went out to eat with him, went out to eat with him and the fiance he had at the time, the whole 9 yards, and he talked a good game. And she was like, she was like, I did it because I knew Nana would have told me to do it because it would have been the right thing to do.
Yeah.
She said, and now I see that he's not who he said he is. And she said, I'm okay with it.
Well, that goes back to what we said earlier. Children know to a certain extent, but then when they get older, they understand. Knowing and understanding are two different things. I know you my daddy. I know you my mama. But now I understand you my daddy. You my mama.
And back in the day, I remember my mama used to say, mama's baby and daddy's maybe.
Daddy's maybe. Must have been a milkman.
What? Mama's baby. Because it's going to always be mama's baby. A good mama is going to always be mama's baby. And a good daddy, he's going to show up. He's going to
always.
And he's going to do what he got to do.
Yep.
He's gonna do what he got to do. Okay, so what did you have as a child that a lot of young men don't have these days?
I had a I had a group of older guys, older men
Mhm,
that, because matter of fact, I start with this, beginning with my brother, my granddaddy, my uncles,
mhm,
and I had older cousins.
mhm,
Uh, my brother is 12 years older than I am. So, of course, being another generation older
mhm,
than I was, you learn a lot. And
mhm,
then with my granddaddy and my uncles and all my other cousins, uh, I even though my father was not present, I had a strong male influence in my life, no matter where I turned.
mhm,
So having that,
mhm.
for me, I had to be like, okay, I can't get away with a lot of stuff. I can't use
Uh-huh. Mhm,
excuses.
mhm,
So, I had that. So that was one thing I love growing up. I did have someone to turn to, even in my high school years and even in my later years.
mhm.
I've always had that.
So in other words, you had a community.
I had a community, no
You
joke.
had
I
a
had a
community.
community.
Yeah, and that's one thing about when men have a community of men that they can trust.
Yep.
Because one thing about a man, my experience from my son, is if a young man ever loses his trust in a man,
Oh yeah.
it brings up a wall in that man, especially our black men, so much so till they won't seek out counseling. They won't
Yeah.
seek out going to see a therapist because somebody hurt them.
Hmm.
Somebody misused them. Somebody dropped the ball on them.
Yep.
And that's why we have to be so very careful when it comes to our children. And I will say this to men. If you have a daughter and if you have a son, build up your child and your children.
Yeah.
Build them up. I work at Davis Bridal part time and I come across young ladies that are heavy set and I can feel the fact that they're very self-conscious about themselves.
Hmm.
I can feel, and they're coming to get these prom dresses or the eighth grade or the sneaker ball, but then it's like they feel such a way. It's like, and I'm so grateful that God made me who I am. And I have the job that I have, and I'm able to be me. I'm able to be
Right.
Sunshine Lady Q outside of my home, outside of the church. I'm able to go to Davis Bridal and be me. I'm able to be Heavenly Huz, healing under God's shadow. And I remember telling a man, because I told the mom, and I was like, he needs to affirm her more. He needs to love her more, and he needs to build her up. She was like, you tell him. She was like, you tell him. And I told him, I said, sir, I said, your daughter having a real hard time loving herself. She's dealing with being self-conscious and the whole
Mm.
yards. I said, she needs to hear from her daddy. Daddy loves you. You're beautiful. You can do anything.
Yep.
Put your mind to it. I hear my son, my grandbabies, Camille and Madison, when they get up in the morning, sometimes you'll hear them saying, I am beautiful. I can do anything that I set my mind to do. Yada, yada, whatever it is. Because guess what? He's telling them that every time he talks to them and every weekend he gets them, he's instilling in them
Right.
what they can be. And don't ever let nobody tell you that you can't be that.
Exactly. Exactly. That's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays you hear more women speaking life into their children.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, especially with our little girls. I mean, even as a teacher, as an educator, I'll be honest with you, this year has been the most, I'm gonna say, prophetic year in school for me when it came to the girls. I always have a relationship with the boys because, of course, sports, or I can relate to them, whatever the case may be. But the girls, um, they really, really clung to me this year, and it was, and a lot of them were just like, well, well, Coach has, we love you because you like a daddy to us. Like, you tell us the truth and you don't sugarcoat nothing, and you just honest with us, and you kind of you get it. And I say, yeah. And I say, well, why do you say that? They say, well, you can tell when we have a bad day or not. And you always encouraging us. You always tell us that, we can be anything we want to be. Don't never let anybody tell you what you're not. And you just make it easy for us. And it's like, when you hear things like that, you know that you're fulfilling your purpose. And because, again, teaching is not about a person. It's about something bigger than you. And when you realize that it's bigger than you, you got to accept it and move with it. Be a vessel. You're literally a vessel in education. You're not a person.
Yeah. And I can attest to that even with my sister who's in education. She has her master's, she has her MBA, she has her MED, and then everything else probably. And I remember seeing one of her students at Davis Bridal. And I was like, well, yeah, Miss James said she's probably going to stop teaching. And she was like, tell Miss James, don't ever stop teaching, because she was like a mother to me and I love her. She's my best teacher.
I'm telling you, you never know what impact you put on a kid's life. Like, even now, I see guys that I've coached, taught. I see, well, now women now that I've taught when they were in school, and they're like, Coach H.U.G.S, I really appreciate you being who you were, and man, I always loved you. And this, I mean, it's great. And now I see them doing good things with their lives, and they can't wait to tell me all about it and stuff like that. And that's always a great feeling, knowing that you made an impact on any child's life, And my kids now, they see me in public, I pick with them and I speak to them, and then mom and dad look at me like, well, who is that? And they be like, I'm Coach H.U.G.S. This is I said, I'm pretty sure they talked about it. And they say, yeah, they do every day.
And that's good. That's good that they're able to come to you, that they're able to probably even talk to you, and where you're able to steer them in the right direction when they're trying to go left.
Right. Yeah.
And that plays a major part in a lot of children's lives, just being there. And you don't have to be a biological father to be a daddy.
You don't.
You don't.
Love is something that love is free.
It is.
Love is
just like hugs are free.
Right. That's free hug. I'm telling you,
free hugs if you want.
Free is love. Love is free, man. And it gives little effort to give it.
Exactly.
And if people would realize that, I say people, I'm going to go back to men, building upon what you said. We got to be able to talk to each other and talk about what's going on in our lives. Because men, we're taught, hey, you can't show that. You can't show weakness. It's not really weakness. It's actually strength. Men go through anxiety. Men go through depression. Men go through stressful situations. They are often not built up. They're always torn down most of the time. And the thing about it is, as a man, you got to be honest, not only with yourself, but with others, and seek out help. It's okay not to be okay, man. Like, it really is. But it's not okay to not be okay and don't say anything.
Exactly.
We're losing a lot of men to suicide now, and a lot of our young men too. Not only just a suicide, but just senseless crimes. And it's all because we're taught not to say how we truly feel.
Yeah.
And that's not good. And I'm trying to bring awareness to that as well. Say how you feel. If you're not okay today, say, hey, man, I'm not okay.
Exactly. I remember
And,
something.
and just say it.
Yeah, it's okay not to be okay.
It is okay not to be okay. I promise you it is, because you never know, somebody else feeling the same way, and you can encourage somebody. That's why I always try to give encouraging messages on Facebooks, and just in person. People come to me a lot. I've noticed as I gotten older, I must have some kind of wisdom, because a lot of people ask me some things, and I'm like, and I thank God that He can, He's given me that spirit of a solution. I guess, like, people come to me, and it's all God. It's not even me. That's not even a question. But I'm able to give them solutions to some of the simplest things, and I'm thinking, like, Lord, thank you, because then they're like, I never thought of it like that. I said, well, there you go. And it's a great feeling to know that I'm being used in such a capacity, because a lot of people look up to me that I didn't know were even, following me or even paying attention to me, but it's a good thing. And I ask God all the time just to keep me humble, because it's not about me. Again, my purpose is not about Jason. It's bigger than me. So I like it. I like it a lot.
And I think just what you said is very encouraging to the men, is very encouraging to the fathers. And I want to applaud all quote unquote stepfathers. You're not a stepfather, you're a father.
Your father. I promise you, because if you take on that responsibility and you provide and a roof, and you provide protection, and you give out what you have, the love, again, that love that you have, hey, they're yours. I told my oldest two, I said, yeah, they call me bonus dad. I said, hey, I'll take a bonus dad, because, you know, when there's times that they need that solution or that advice or that love, I'm there, and
Exactly.
like my oldest girl, she's getting married now. And I remember when she wanted to move to Texas. So guess what? Bonus daddy had to do what he had to do, and we drove 17 hours with a U-Haul in a car. And hey, but that's what she wanted, and that's what she needed from me. And she'll still call me now and FaceTime me, and be like, ain't I just the most beautiful daughter you ever had? I said, yeah, you are, baby. You are. And it makes her feel good, but that's that love. Again, all kids need love. Even my oldest son, he'll come to me every now and then. And I'm like, hey, man, you doing all right, boy? And we'll have our little joke, and he'll laugh. And I know he's all right,
Exactly.
And it's just when kids know that you love them, and you genuinely love them, not just, you don't tolerate them, you don't put up with them, or you love them, and you love them from your heart.
Exactly.
They know it. Kids are not stupid. Kids ain't stupid now. So when they know that you do love them, that means a lot to them. It really does.
Yeah, it does. This was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm thank you for having me on.
Of course, of course. I'm so glad that you accepted the invitation from Heavenly Hugs Radio Moment, and just Heavenly Hugs, period. Healing under God's shadow, where it's not just a warm embrace, but it's a safe embrace. And I speak blessings into your life. I speak blessings even into your relationship with your son, even more. I just ask God, whatever you're going through, whatever you got going on, that He continues to build you up, because you are equipped for it.
I am. I appreciate that very much.
For it. And to all fathers, I speak life to all fathers. And I ask God to give you the desires of your heart as men when it comes to being a father. Don't stop. Don't ever give up. And if it's finances or whatever the case may be, then I pray that God ignites a fire in you, that you don't stop, and that you will have justice, and you will be able to have your child and be able to spend time with your child. Don't ever stop. And know that you have Sunshine Lady Q, praying and cheering you on. I promise you that because I feel like every child needs to have a dad in their life.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This
This
is
is
your
great.
girl. Yeah, this is your girl, Sunshine Lady Q, with none other than Mr. Jason Keith. We appreciate you for taking time to chill out with us today. Mr. Keith, you want to go in and tell everyone good night?
Have a good night. Remember, fathers matter. Fathers matter all the time.
That's
All right.
it. That's it. Again, this is your girl, Sunshine Lady Q of Heavenly Hugs, Healing of the God Shadow. I love each and every one of you. You can follow me on TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram. Heavenly Hugs from me to each and every one of you. Until next time, I love you guys.